Hello, Misfits, and welcome. In today's episode, we're going to talk all about shopping. Those dreaded shopping sessions that you probably hate, I hated for the longest time, but I'm going to share with you a few ways that I kind of made them a little bit more enjoyable for everybody at the table. So let's get into that. So first, let's talk about why we don't like shopping, or why you probably don't like shopping in D&D. Well, a lot of times it's really boring. It's something that doesn't engage the entire table at the same time. And a lot of times, I don't know about you, but for me, I never really knew exactly how to prepare for them, or I was overwhelmed by the process of preparing for them. Didn't know how much to make things cost, didn't know how many of what to sell. It was sort of a frustrating time when I was preparing for them. But along the way, I learned a few things, and I'm gonna share some of those with you today. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to stop making shopping this sort of chore that we accomplish and get done before we go off on the next quest, and we need to turn shopping into a roleplay experience, okay? This is your downtime. This is your time to not worry about killing the next monster and have a time where everybody can kind of get into character, converse, learn a little bit about the world around them, and things like that. So some things that I like to do to make shopping a little bit more roleplay friendly is to give my shop owners a little bit of personality and give them little bits of information to share. I will have shop owners gossip about things happening in town, or maybe just sort of what's happening in the world. They can sort of tease world lore. I'll give my shop owners different personalities, so I might have a shop owner that is a bit gruff and kind of rude. I might have a shop owner that's a bit stuck up and always trying to overprice things. I might have a shop owner flirt with one of the party members or be really shy around them. There are lots of different ways that you can sort of tackle this, but introducing these little things really kind of bring your town to life and make shopping feel like a moment where you're getting to know the town and getting to know the culture of the town and the people in it, instead of just like, all right, I need this, and this. I buy them. Those little bits of things that you can change. I might also sort of use this opportunity and use these talking merchants to tease other quests or introduce other plot hooks. They could ask the party to go pick up a shipment from somewhere or deliver an item to someone, or things like that. You can also sprinkle in little other activities to kind of spice up the shopping excursion, if you will. Maybe there's a town festival and there's some activities that the party can participate in. Maybe there's a traveling fortune teller and you can use this to tease some upcoming quests and adventures. Maybe there's a purse thief and they have to be interrupted from their shopping to go stop this person. Maybe there's some local deals happening in taverns, or a party happening at a bar or something. There are lots of different things that you can do here, so that the focus isn't just on buying stuff, but again, just experiencing the town itself. Another really important aspect of this is spreading these moments evenly across the party, okay? Sometimes there's one person or just a couple of people that really have this list of things that they want to get done and this list of stuff that they want to buy, which is fine. Definitely let them do that, but don't spend the entire time on those people. I try to keep track a little bit of time, and I'll spend a little bit of time kind of answering the requests of one person, and then I stop. And I can either do this two ways. I can either go, all right, before we continue on, is there anything else that anybody wants to do right at this moment? And you sort of open it up to the entire table. That's one option. Or two, you can say, all right, player A, you've just bought that scroll. You're interested in looking at some potions next. But let's move away from that scene, and player B, what are you doing at this moment as you're walking through the marketplace? Option B is way more direct, so you need to keep track of who's had the most time to sort of roleplay and do what they want, and use this to segue into somebody that hasn't had the spotlight yet. I do find that kind of putting a player on the spot like this is more likely to generate some sort of improvised roleplay moment, whereas if you open it up to the entire table, you might have some players that don't like to steal the spotlight, and they might not say anything. They might be like, "Oh, I'm good. I don't need a moment, or I don't need to buy anything." And so they kind of go unheard, whereas you can sort of thrust them into the spotlight, and they get a moment to maybe not buy something, but at least sort of play out what their character might be doing here. So kind of, neither way is wrong, especially if you don't want to spend a lot of time in town and you want to move on to the next quest. Maybe option 1 is for you, but I think there's a lot of merits to option B, and I think it's just a little bit better in shining the spotlight on different people. So just something to consider there. Also, it's important to sort of give your shops just a little bit of life by throwing in some names and some descriptions. Speaking of descriptions, maybe you're at a loss of how to come up with those on the fly. Maybe you forgot to prepare those in advance, or you just suck at making them. Well, that brings us to today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Describe, an award-winning TTRPG publisher of descriptive texts, immersive sounds, and interactive maps. If you are struggling to kind of add that next layer of finesse and polish to your games, Describe is the place for you. You can, on their site, search for just about anything, and you will find a beautiful handwritten description for it that can really just sort of bring things to the next level and add a little bit of life to your world that you've been building. You can find descriptions for places, spells, monsters, characters, you name it. You can even request personalized descriptions to be written for your scenes and characters. Let's say you really want that perfect shop description. Well, let's search shop and see what comes up. You can filter this description if you really want to and figure out what's going to work best for you. I'm going to go with the Scribe shop here, and let me read you this beautiful description. The charming smell of wet ink and dusty parchment stirs the senses as you step through the open, ornamented, stained glass door. Wax candles light a pathway through the store, winding past stacked books and loose pages. On each table sits layer after layer of delicately constructed inkwork, masterfully quilled for those in need of language bound and sealed on parchment. Easily scribed spells and elegant world histories line the front of the shop, while intricate glass cabinetry behind the shopkeep's desk displays the more exquisite items, marvelous tomes and beautifully calligraphed pages too precious to be touched by the greasy palms of wayward patrons who might stumble in off the busy street. There's a wide variety of subscription tiers here, each unlocking different features, but some of them are also available for free, so it's worth checking out and seeing exactly what's going to suit your needs best. It doesn't cost anything to create an account on Describe, but the lowest subscription tier starts at just $3.79 a month. But if you use the code MISFIT at checkout, you can get 10% off your first subscription payment. So be sure to check out Describe, and don't forget to use the code MISFIT at checkout. Alright, so we have talked about how to kind of make shopping a little bit more role-player friendly and bring a little bit of life to the experience there. I think the next step is to sort of kind of regulate and control how often these shopping sessions take place. They don't have to happen all the time, and I do think that they should be a little bit rare. So let's talk about how we can sort of control this just a little bit. When I think of these big shopping excursions, normally it's to restock an ammunition, get potions that we're out of or we don't have, maybe see if there's magic items available, and even upgrade armor and things like that. These kinds of things are not going to be available everywhere. I mean, think about the tiny little town that you might start your adventure in, a small little village on the outskirts of a forest. they're not gonna have magic items for sale or all these potions and stuff. So keep that into consideration. I like to sort of categorize my towns and decide what's going to be available where. So things that are available only at really, really small towns or available everywhere, but especially just at the smallest town, are going to be really, really simple things, you know? Some food, some simple clothing, and maybe stuff that you would find in like an adventuring pack, like rope or a tinderbox or things like that. But then you move up a step and you're to a moderate-sized town. That's gonna have more available. You know, your basic armor, though nothing super fancy, nothing with like resistances and probably nothing with like +1 bonuses to it. You're gonna have your ammunition, your arrows, your crossbow bolts probably. And you might find like a couple potions or maybe a simple kit, like a medicine kit or an herbalism kit. But when you get to your large cities, that's when everything opens up, and you're able to find armor advancements, magic potions, bizarre spell components, magic items, you name it. Space out your large cities. This is a way for you to sort of kind of control the pacing of your adventure. Space out these large cities, make sure they don't encounter them too soon or too often, and this is going to help these items feel more rare and feel more earned. I always wait to unveil a large city until, a few levels into the adventure. I think normally my party is like level 5 when they get to go to like a more decent sized city. But I mean, that's also just purely up to what you prefer and the kind of adventure and story that you're telling. So you need to sit down and kind of make some of these decisions yourself and decide what's going to be available when. And once they get to that first big city, maybe they'll encounter them more often. It's honestly, at that point, it's all just personal preference. The next thing that I think is super important is hand-picking the kinds of things that you are selling. Now, when it comes to like armor and ammunition, I normally just make kind of like all the basics available. And if it's a large city, if they really want to customize some armor, I listen to what they want, and I do my best to try and meet their needs. But, it's going to come at like it's going to take time to build something to specifications. But when it comes to magic items and potions, I hand pick those. I know that you can roll for them randomly, but I don't like that because you could end up with something that's not suited to your party makeup. You might roll up a staff that can only be wielded by a druid, but you don't have a single druid in your party. You could also end up with items that don't really fit the theme of your adventure. Maybe your adventure is set in a desert, but you just rolled up a coat that helps you swim fast and breathe underwater. They're not really suited to each other, and they're not super useful, and it might not even make sense that that item is available to begin with. So I like to hand pick items. This way I know that there's going to be something perfectly suited to the people in the party, and I know that it's going to be on theme. It's going to help them in the quests and adventures to come. And a lot of times I will, and my players haven't really caught on to this, but I will sort of like tease upcoming things with the kinds of items that they can buy. The last big city my players were at, I sold potions of water breathing. And they did not take that hint, and they didn't really buy many of them, and then they found out that they really needed them down the road, and it was kind of a problem. So that's something that you can consider. That takes a little bit of forethought, and if your players don't catch on, it might not be worth it. So something to consider there. I also think it's important to kind of limit the number of things that are available. Normally when I'm doing potions, I will roll like a d6 or something to determine how many of those potions are available. And if they're more powerful potions, then I'll maybe just roll like a d4 or something like that. And when it comes to magic items, I try to keep those really limited. If you get to a big city and there's always like at least 20 magic items available, then the importance and rarity of each of those items feels diminished because, oh, there's just tons of these things. They're everywhere. You know, I'm not gonna buy it now because I could get that anywhere. Yeah, limit the number. Maybe there's not even enough to accommodate everybody in your party. You know, they might have to go to the next town so that everybody can have something, or hope that they find something on an adventure. Yeah, keep it a bit limited, and I think that's gonna help things feel a little bit more special, a little bit more rare, all of those wonderful things. Alright, the last thing that I think is important is to use some tools to your advantage, okay? There is no need to reinvent the wheel. There are plenty of wonderful things that help us with this process. My favorite tool, and I've mentioned it before, but when it comes to shopping episodes, I love the website Kassoon.com because they have given prices to magic items, something that is not in the DMG. They just give you like a range of worth. Oh, it's an uncommon item. Well, it should cost anywhere between 500 gold and like 20,000 gold or something stupid like that. Some wide range that you don't even know how to associate that with an item. But Kassoon.com has given a cost to all these different items. It's super valuable. You don't have to be married to that cost. You can use it as just sort of a guide to inform your own decisions. But that is so useful. So I generally use that religiously when shopping is occurring in my games. I also like to use Fantasy Name Generator to, if not actually come up with the name for a shop, then to at least give me some inspiration. So that tool is also pretty useful. And then I always keep like the player handbook at hand because that has generally like costs for all your basic armor and weapons, and I think that's pretty useful to have. Yeah, so these are my tips for how to really help make shopping less dreadful, less boring, easier to prepare for, and a lot of times I find that these are the sessions that almost run themselves. We get so into the roleplay and running around town and like doing simple things that you don't even have to do, like going and having a meal at a tavern because they found a discount coupon in the town square. You know, silly little things, and that's where we really learn to gel as a party, and we get into character, and the adventure and the story we're making starts to feel more real. So really use this to your advantage. Shopping is not something to dread, and it's needed. I mean, everybody needs to restock on things, buy things, you know, have some downtime to enjoy being alive before they are running and fighting for their lives. So use this to your advantage. If you thought that this was helpful to you, if you enjoyed this video, or, you know, even if you didn't and you just want to be a nice person, please feel free to like and subscribe. But most importantly, leave a comment below. I really want to hear from you what you do to kind of make shopping a little less dreadful. Maybe you love shopping and you can give me some secret tips on why you've always loved it. I certainly don't hate it anymore, but for a while there, it just made me very overwhelmed. But I'd love to hear from you guys and hear about your own experiences, so please leave a comment below. I always read them. I try to like or reply to all of them. I don't always, but I try to. But I certainly read every single one and really like hearing from you guys. So please meet me down there below and give a shout out. With all of that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you again next time. Speaking of shopping, I have to confess that I have a problem. I am addicted to dice. This is something that I'm sure many of you knew already, but I'm like legitimately addicted to buying dice. It's a problem, and my group doesn't help at all. I show them dice and I'm like, hey, tell me not to buy this. And then they're like, no, buy it. Buy it now. You should buy that. do it. And it's like, alright guys, you're not helping, okay? You're not being helpful. But no, I'm super addicted. If you ever want to see like my dice collection, let me know. I'm also a real big fan of like the really, really giant ones. I've got this one and I've got another one, but it's buried in this thing. But and I try to buy them from all different places so that they all look different. This one's got a little goldfish inside it. And this is somebody that I follow on Instagram, and they follow me back, which I love. And then these are cool because they've got little, like, astronauts on them, and I like space, so that's fun. But, yeah, are you a dice goblin as well? Are you addicted to dice, or are you not? Let me know in the comments below.